Let's talk about conflict. It's one of the most common and, let's be honest, painful parts of any relationship. But what if it wasn't an ending? What if it was actually an opening? Today we're going to break down how you can turn those moments of total misunderstanding into real opportunities for a way, way deeper connection. Okay, so let's just dive right into the heart of it with this one question. Seriously, how is it possible that two people can go through the exact same event and walk away with completely opposite takeaways? This is the fundamental confusion that really fuels countless arguments. And wow, this line from a poem in our source material just captures that feeling perfectly. One person sees hope, the other sees a total disaster, and they're both looking at the same thing. This isn't just a simple disagreement, it's a clash of entire realities. So let's start right there, by unpacking this fundamental problem, the clash of our own individual points of view. It's like this invisible fault line running right underneath so many of our conflicts. Just look at how these two viewpoints break down here. For one person, things are looking up. It's hopeful because it matches their expectations. But for the other, it's abysmal because it completely shatters theirs. Did you catch the key word there? The word connecting both reactions is expectations. So often, what we think of as reality is really just a reflection of what we expected to happen. The source material offers this fantastic metaphor for this. We're all walking around wearing a different pair of glasses. Our brain takes in reality and distills it through this totally unique filter that's made up of our culture, our past experiences, our conditioning, everything. So when we get frustrated and ask, "Can't you see what I see?" the honest answer is no. Literally, no, they can't. They're looking through a completely different lens. And this idea just keeps building, because it's not just our internal filters that are causing problems. It's also about what we choose not to share. The hidden barriers to actually understanding each other. So our source brings up another really powerful concept, using the idea of an ellipsis. Yeah, those three little dots? Literally, they mean that something's been left out, and it's kind of an invitation for the reader to fill in the blank themselves. Well, this is exactly what happens in our relationships. That ellipsis becomes this huge gap that's created when we don't communicate our feelings or our needs. We just leave our partner to figure out the rest. And let me tell you, that is a perfect recipe for a huge misunderstanding. This mindset right here, this is the ultimate ellipsis. It's this incredibly dangerous belief that a partner should basically be a mind reader. But as the source material makes super clear, these uncommunicated, one-sided expectations just don't work. They create a void that immediately gets filled with assumptions, resentment, and, eventually, conflict. So what happens when we consistently leave things in that ellipsis? When we keep avoiding those tough conversations? Well, we start building something. Something that can eventually block out love entirely. A wall. And this line, it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? Because it perfectly captures the loneliness that comes from this self-imposed isolation. You're right there, physically present, but you're emotionally hidden behind a wall of your own making. A wall that gets built so slowly, brick by brick. So how does this wall get built? It's not in one big blow-up. No, it's through a series of tiny little surrenders. It starts with just being afraid to be your true self. And then, maybe you start people-pleasing, just to avoid a fight. You stifle what you really feel. And every single time you do that, another brick gets laid, hiding who you really are and chipping away at any real intimacy. The ultimate outcome of all this is what one person in our source discussion so powerfully called the invisible me. Your sense of self, your self-worth, your voice, it all just slowly fades away. You're there, but you're not really there anymore. Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak, but the crucial point is, this doesn't have to be the end of the story. Once we see the wall, we can actually start to take it down. So how do we bridge that divide and reconnect? Well, our source offers some really clear, practical tools. First, you absolutely have to create a safe space where both of you feel like you can be yourselves without being judged. Second, start asking clarifying questions to fill in those ellipses. Try to understand their point of view instead of just assuming. Third, and this one can be tough, withhold judgment. You don't have to agree with their reality, but you do have to accept that it is true for them. And finally, and this is a game changer, communicate using I feel statements. Instead of you made me feel, try when this happened, this is how it made me feel. It states the impact without pointing fingers, which opens the door for real conversation instead of just offensiveness. And using those tools brings us to this final, really beautiful metaphor from our source material that completely reframes the entire purpose of being in a relationship in the first place. Okay, think about making lemonade for a second. If the sugar insists on staying a hard little granule and the lime insists on remaining this separate, super potent flavor, what do you actually have? You've got gritty, sour water. You've got conflict, where each part is just fighting to stay the same. See, the goal isn't for the sugar to win or the lime to win. The goal is to become lemonade. It's all about each person being willing to give up just a little bit of what they are to become part of something new, creating something together that is so much better and more wonderful than what they could ever be alone.
So that really just leaves us with a final question to think about. In your day-to-day life, in conflicts big and small, are you laying another brick in the wall? Or are you willing to give a little of yourself to help make some lemonade? The choice, ultimately, is yours.